Hey guys, I hope you are enjoying the summer so far. I am in the middle of an incredibly busy season here in Martha's Vineyard, but I'm truly loving it, even though it's a lot of time on the court. This week, I got to talk with Will Boucek from the Tennis Tribe and the Doubles Only Tennis Podcast. We had a great conversation about doubles. Will is a numbers guy, an actual mathematician who loves doubles and has dedicated his tennis coaching career to analyzing the game of doubles. He shared with us the biggest misconceptions about doubles strategy, his favorite stats to look at and use when coaching, and his all-time favorite drill for improving volleys. We also discussed how college tennis has devalued the game of doubles and how professional doubles simply has a marketing issue. This and so much more on this episode of Vita Tennis. Get ready to learn from one of the best out there, only here at Vita Tennis. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Vita Tennis, the podcast for those folks who eat, sleep, breathe tennis. I'm Jennifer Galhouse, and today I'm talking with Will Boucek. Did I say that right?
Perfect. You got it.
Thank you. He is the founder of the Tennis Tribe, which started in 2016 as a doubles blog, and today it has grown into a website with tennis gear reviews, professional tournament guides, and the Doubles Only Tennis Podcast, where he interviews top coaches and players. Will has specialized in double strategy for the past half decade and worked with double players from club level all the way up to ATP and WTA. He has worked with top 10 doubles teams at all four majors, the WTA Finals, and Indian Wells. He also specializes in tennis gear, testing out the latest rackets, bags, shoes, and more to provide recommendations for club level players. Welcome, Will, to Vita Tennis. I'm so excited to talk with you today.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited as well. And that was a great intro.
No, we were just chatting and you mentioned that you have a marketing background. Is that what you studied in college?
Not really. No, I majored in math in college. So that's kind of related to some of what I do now. I'm pretty into the analytics side of our sports with a focus on doubles, and that's how I help pro teams out. But I worked for a marketing company for a while, for about 3 years after college, where I learned how to build websites and just kind of generally do online marketing. So we did marketing for dental practices, actually. So we would have dentists come to us who needed a website, and we would build them a website and get them kind of a local reputation online through Google reviews and things like that. And eventually I quit that company and started doing some freelance marketing on the side, building websites for clients. And then I slowly transitioned into tennis full time. So now I do have my own website where I focus a lot on doubles. That probably takes up 95% of my time, but I still do run a kind of side marketing business where I build websites for tennis businesses, whether it's an academy or a club or even a podcast, whatever it might be, and help them generate new clients or new students, things like that.
Ah, very cool. And at what point did you realize that you wanted to stay in tennis and to do coaching?
Yeah. So I grew up playing tennis a lot, kind of burned out going into high school when I was maybe 13 or 14, and then picked it back up in college. I actually played for a small Division III school in Alabama. And after college, I didn't play a lot. And then when I moved to Austin, Texas, I used tennis as a way to meet people. So I joined some USTA leagues and tournaments and started playing a lot. And the majority of club players are playing doubles, right? So I was just fascinated. It was my first time to really study doubles, and I was just fascinated by the strategy. So I started trying different things like poaching on certain balls and just noticing like, oh, when I do that, the opponent seems to do this. So then I can like kind of manipulate the point and manipulate the direction they're hitting. So I started writing blog posts and started a double strategy newsletter that's been going for about 7 years now, that comes out every Thursday. And I just asked friends of mine around Texas to join. I said, hey, can I add you to my doubles newsletter? I just write about strategy every Thursday. And they were like, yeah. And then I started having people come up to me in tournaments, in other cities. I was living in Austin, so I'd be at a tournament in San Antonio, and they'd come up to me and they'd say, hey, I'm on your doubles newsletter. It's really good. Like, I like it a lot. So that's when I first realized, like, like maybe I can kind of follow this and turn it into a business. And then from there, I started the podcast eventually. I started studying doubles data at the pro level and reached out to some pro teams and did some kind of free consulting, and then eventually got paid for some of that work. And now I have some ebooks on my website. I'm still doing the podcast. I've been fortunate enough to interview some of the best doubles players in the world and some of the best doubles players of all time, and just learned a ton. And I feel like I'm still learning. I feel like every year I'm kind of tweaking my approach to double strategy, both how I teach it and how I play as well.
Did you ever coach at a club or anything like that?
I didn't coach at a club like in a traditional sense. I would pick up like lessons here and there, but I never was full-time employed at a club or an academy. So when I worked for the dental marketing company, I really figured out how to create content and create websites online, and realized how scalable that was. So that always attracted me to be able to kind of get content out to, hundreds or thousands of people at a time. But over the last year or so, I have started getting back onto the court and teaching on the court a little bit more, because I do miss that kind of person-to-person connection a little bit. So I helped out with a high school team in my area over the past year as well, which was a lot of fun.
Oh, that's cool. So what is the demographic you work with most?
So for the website and people who are subscribed to the newsletter or listen to the podcast, it's mostly club level players, typically 3.0 to 4.5 on the USTA rating scale, or the NTRP. So that's the majority of people who are listening to the podcast. When I do kind of consulting or analytics services, it's for higher level players, obviously. So I'll work with Division I college programs as well as pro players, like you mentioned in the intro. So I've worked with players at the majors, the WTA Finals, which was here in Fort Worth, where I live now, last year. So a lot of the analytics work is with the higher level players.
That's very cool. So take us through that process. How does that work? What does that look like? Are you just watching matches and tracking point play?
Yeah. So it's really cool. If you're, like I said, I majored in math, so I kind of like numbers, and I like things that are very objective, right? So when you're playing a doubles match, a lot of people might say like, oh, it's better to serve down the tee in doubles. Well, I want to see like evidence for that. So I want to see, 1,000 points where a team serves down the tee and 1,000 points where the team serves wide, and figure out how many points out of those 1,000 did they win when they served down the tee versus wide. So that is all trackable through a process called match tagging. So I use a company called Tennis Analytics, who's also kind of a client of mine. So I built their website, and I'm friends with the founder, Warren Pretorius, who would be a great guest on your podcast as well. So his team tags the matches. So they'll take 5 to 10 matches from a particular doubles team that I submit to them, and they'll take the video and they'll tag the matches and get all the data for me. And then I go through and analyze the data, and I can watch the match video to go along with the data as well. So I can see you're winning, let's say 65% of points when you're using I formation in the deuce court, but you're only winning 55% using regular formation in the deuce court. So you need to use more I formation, things like that we're able to tag and track. And because I'm pointing to the data, it's kind of objective and you can't really argue with it. It's the numbers kind of speak for themselves. And then from there, I go to the match video to figure out, okay, why is the I formation working so well? Is it because you like your backhand better than your forehand and you're able to shift over to the ad court and rally from there? Or is it your serve is very difficult to redirect down the line or something like that. So then that's when kind of the tennis artistry, I guess, comes into it, where it's a little bit less objective, but that video is super, super important as well.
So cool. I I'm sorry to say I don't watch a lot of doubles. When I watch TV,
Yeah.
I like always watch singles, but
Yeah.
I'm coaching doubles all the time and I love now playing doubles. I didn't love it all throughout my junior career or even in college. I wasn't a big fan,
Yeah.
but honestly it was because I didn't understand it. And
Hmm.
coaching pushed me to really know my stuff because now you're teaching this, so you gotta be able to explain it and help people out. So that's what
Hmm.
having to coach it made me a better doubles player. I mean, definitely for sure. But what do you think are the biggest misconceptions uh, based on what you just said that you like to look at the numbers? What are some of the major misconceptions that you see?
Some of the big ones, I mean, the one I already mentioned, so like serving down the tee is better. I'm going to eventually write a blog post on this because I've got the data for it. But what I find with most teams is they actually serve less out wide, but they have a higher win percentage when they serve out wide. So that's definitely one that comes to mind. It is player specific. I will for sure come across some players who perform better serving down the tee. Another one, the common ones at the club level are, people covering the alley too much, which I'm sure you teach a lot in your lessons. They cover the alley too much. So I have this issue sometimes when I play with a new partner, and I've gotten better at kind of, your doubles partner doesn't like when you coach them typically, but I've gotten better at wording things in the right way so that my partner doesn't cover the alley too much. But what happens a lot of the time is a particular player has trouble holding serve and they keep getting broken. And then after the match, you'll hear, I've spoken with players at USTA tournaments about this, and they'll say, "Oh yeah, my partner just couldn't hold their serve." And then I watched the match and they don't help them at all at the net. So
Yeah.
they're standing all the way, they're standing closer to the singles line than they are to the center service line. So of course their partner's having trouble holding serve. The returner has this huge window to hit into because the server's partner is standing in the doubles alley. So they have an easy, wide open cross court return to hit into. So what needs to happen is they need to shift. Typically, if you're going to play regular formation, just stand right in the middle of the box, especially on first serve. So look to your left if you're in the or serving to the deuce court. Look to your left, look at the singles line. Look to your right, look at the center service line. They should be the same distance from you. If in some scenarios, if it's maybe 3-0, 3-5, your partner has a super weak second serve and the opponent's stepping in and ripping forehands down the line, there are some, but it's very rare, some scenarios where it's okay to cover the doubles alley to force them cross court just so you stay in the point. But that's only going to be on second serves. But in general, almost everyone is too conservative with their positioning and their movement at the net. So I think knowing that can help you kind of shift your mindset and be more aggressive. And then once you do it, you'll realize, oh, they go down the line 5 times. They only make 1 or 2 of them. So I'm winning 60% of these points, and I'll take that every day. So I think that's probably the biggest one as far as club level goes.
Yeah, I mean, I teach that all day. I think part of it is because people hate getting passed down the line because
Mm-hmm.
it makes them look bad. But if
Yeah.
they don't get a poach, it doesn't make them look bad because that's not supposed to be their ball, you know? So
Right.
it's a tricky one to convince people. Like, you don't need to be all the way out by the singles line. You need to
Yeah.
pinch the middle a little bit more.
Right.
But so most of the things that you're working with are on a professional level, or I guess you're working with both, right? You're working with, because it's so
Mm-hmm.
different. And that's kind of what I want to kind of go into is what are the main differences that you would give this advice to a high level player, but maybe the opposite advice to a club level player.
Yeah. But before I get to that,
Mm-hmm.
I want to close the gap kind of on the covering the alley thing you mentioned. So
Sure.
So you're right. One of the reasons people have trouble with it is that they feel like they maybe let their partner down, or when they get beat down the line, but they're really, as a team, thinking about it the wrong way, right? They're thinking about it like, I need to cover my half, you cover your half, and that's how doubles is played. But that's
Yeah.
obviously, you and I know that that's not true. So what I've found can be really helpful for people who are just starting out to try to do this. If you're playing with either a new partner or even an existing partner, you can tell them before the match, hey, I'm really aggressive at the net. But what I find is every time I get beat down the line, I'm also able to get a volley that I put away, and the opponent misses more down the line than they make. So I'm aggressive, but it tends to work. So I am going to get beat down the line some. And if you tell them that before the match, then they're okay with it. But if you wait till the match happens and then they find you getting beat down the line, that's the one they're going to remember, and they're going to tell you, hey, cover your alley. Hey, cover your alley.
Yeah, that's so good. That's so good.
Yeah, so I think if you can talk about that a little bit before the match, I think that helps a lot. But differences between pro and club level. So the pros don't have a problem typically with being aggressive at the net, like we're talking about. With the pros, the margins are just so small that I really have to dive a lot deeper to find opportunities to improve. So if I go watch a club level match, I can watch a game, maybe 2, 3, 4, so that they're in all 4 positions: server, returner, server's partner, returner's partner, and watching all 4 players serve. And that's probably all I need to tell somebody 3 things they can improve, right? Whereas at the pro level, I can watch a whole match and not be quite sure what they can improve on, right? So I really have to have the match data and the matches tagged so that I can dive in and see, okay, their forehand return is maybe 5% worse than their backhand return. That's not something I'm going to be able to tell with my eye. So I need the data for that. Whereas at the club level, a player's forehand return might be 40% worse. So it's very easy to tell, they keep missing their forehand returns, or they have to chop at it because they don't know how to come over the ball, or whatever it might be. So that's the biggest difference, I think, is just the margins are so much smaller at the highest level of the game. So it's a lot more difficult to kind of diagnose any opportunities to improve, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. And what about college tennis? Is that somewhat closer to pro, or is it totally different? Because from what I have seen, to me, at least in my experience, college, at least women college doubles is very different. They stay back a lot more, a lot longer at the baseline. There's a lot more baseline rallies, and there are some other differences. But obviously, I want to hear from you. So, what your thoughts are?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Yeah, college tennis is not the same as pro, and yeah, definitely on the women's side as well. I feel like because college tennis is kind of devalued doubles so much in their scoring system. I mean, it's only worth 1 point. You're only playing 1 no ad set each. I feel like, I don't know this for sure, but I feel like coaches probably spend less time on it maybe than they used to. At Division 3 for me, each doubles line was worth 1 point. So we were playing best out of 9 instead of 7. So it was a lot more valuable if you could get a sweep in doubles, then that was 3 points rather than just 1. So I feel like the net play, which is a big part of doubles, obviously, just isn't there at the college level. They'll use some I formation, but they're not really using it in the right way all the time. Or if they're using regular formation, you'll find them a lot of the time shifting over towards the doubles alley, like we talked about earlier. So they make a lot of the same mistakes that you'll see club level players make, because they're spending 95% of their practice on singles. So they're going to be much more comfortable just at the baseline, grinding out rallies from back there rather than getting to the net and finishing points off up there.
You mentioned something that kind of sparked my interest. You said that college tennis has devalued doubles, and it has. And you know what? I just went to the NCAA tournament in Orlando because I live in Tampa, Florida, so it's right there.
Yeah.
I love going, and feeling that college atmosphere is so fun. And you know what? It's funny because the most fun, most entertaining part to watch is the doubles. When they go
Yeah.
into the singles, it's like they spread out. You
Yeah.
can't keep up with what is happening because there's six lines. It's a
Yeah.
lot to keep track of. When they're playing doubles, it's like the whole team is right there. There's a lot of energy. It's really fun because the courts are next to each other. So it's kind of sad. I never thought about it in that sense. I just had this thought that
Hmm.
it's sad because I guess the reason for shortening doubles in college was to make it more watchable for TV. That's what I've heard. But
Yeah.
the doubles for college, because it's a team-based sport, is a lot more entertaining. So they
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
It makes sense. It's another side of kind of what I'm trying to do with Tennis Tribe is make doubles more popular. So you said at the beginning, like you have trouble watching, or you mostly watch singles on TV, but it's kind of hard to find doubles on TV. Like I've been watching Wimbledon,
Yeah.
the past week and a half, and you have to have ESPN Plus, which it's not very expensive, but it's something. Like you have to sign up, and it's like $8 a month or something. And I really encourage people to sign up for like either do a free trial or pay the $8 for a month and then cancel a month later, just to be able to watch the doubles because it is so exciting. In the college atmosphere, it can be even better because, like you said, it's a team environment. You've got all three courts like right next to each other, and the players at the college level get so much more pumped up than they do at the pro level. I guess it's I don't know what it is, but there's something about the college atmosphere that's like, yeah, they just, it's come on after every point as loud as they can, regardless of how the point was won. Whereas the pro level, it's not like that. And I've interviewed on my podcast so many players, mostly doubles, but singles players as well, who have said, like, I don't understand why doubles isn't more popular. Some of my favorite tournaments or favorite events have been in doubles, especially the team aspect. And you've seen, Laver Cup the last 5 years has done pretty well with the doubles, and World Team Tennis is something that I don't think is happening this year, but that format was a lot of fun and that had a lot of doubles. So hopefully, over the next 5 or 10 years or so, they figure out a marketing strategy for it on the pro tour as well.
Yeah, I think for college tennis, it makes a lot of sense, like you said, because of the team aspect. It's a little
Mm-hmm.
bit harder on the pro tour because the big names are the singles guys, and like usually those are the guys you end up watching on TV.
Mm-hmm.
But watching professional doubles is incredible. They're so good.
Mm-hmm.
They're so good at the net. It's
Yeah.
you think the point's going to be over, and it just keeps going. So
Yeah.
there's definitely good entertainment. It's just maybe names that you don't really recognize, and yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that's a lot of that's a marketing problem. I had a bunch of conversations about this during Indian Wells because I went to Indian Wells for 5 or 6 days this year, and the doubles courts during late week one, early week two, you couldn't get a seat. Like they were totally packed out. Even some of the matches weren't even like big names. Like obviously there was a match with Coco Gauff and Jessica Pegula. Obviously that one's going to get a huge crowd, but there were some. It was like Mektic and Pavic against, who was it? Gonzalez and Roger Vasselin, who's like all doubles guys at this point, and even that one was totally full. And I think, since you said like a lot of the singles names are the ones who are the stars, right? The reason for that, I feel like, is they're just marketed more heavily. So if you like walk around the grounds at Indian Wells or here at the WTA Finals last year, or US Open coming up in a month or so, you're gonna see all the banners. It's just all the singles players, right? Like a
Yeah.
lot of, for the casual fan, they may not even know that doubles is going on at the tournament. So like if they could get a little bit of that marketing budget towards the doubles, some of those players, some of those teams might become more popular. We don't know because they don't have the same marketing budget or the same kind of effort behind them. So it's kind of tough to say.
No, that makes total sense. That's the same kind of argument that we give for women's sports versus male sports. It's a marketing thing too. So that makes total sense that doubles kind of takes the back seat, when it comes to that. But getting back into the coaching side a little bit, what about differences amongst men and women's doubles? Does anything come to mind strategy wise? Let's stay with club level, I guess.
So club level, once you get to the little higher level, club level, like 4-5, 5-0, you'll see a lot more of the men serving and volleying and coming to the net more, whereas the women's doubles will be more one up, one back. I feel like at 3-0, 3-5, and 4-0, both men and women are playing mostly one up, one back. I find, a lot of this stuff is just from me watching. And like I said earlier, I like things that are objective. So I don't know this for sure, but what I find is a lot of the women are better at actually hitting lobs than the men are. And the men underutilize the lob and try to hit the ball too hard in a lot of cases. And in a lot of cases, they try to hit the ball hard when they're off balance or out of position, and they should be playing defense, and they need to add the lob to their game. So that's one area where I feel like men should definitely improve. It's something I've added to my own game over the last 5 years or so, is the lob, especially on the return. And that's super effective. And then obviously the serves are different, and that's at every level of the game. In general, the men are going to have a little more powerful serves than the women are. But other than that, like all of the same rules kind of apply. You want to make a high percentage of first serves and doubles. You want to be aggressive at the net, cover the middle area of the court. Yeah, whether it's men's, women's, or mixed, it's all pretty similar.
Yeah. And what about mixed doubles? Are you a fan? What are your feelings about mixed doubles? Because it can vary.
Yeah. I love mixed doubles. I'm actually I'm on 2 10-0 mixed doubles teams right now, and 1 9-0 mixed doubles team that I'm captaining right now. So I love mixed doubles. I think it's a lot of fun. I feel like it's, the men's leagues I've played in, I can't speak for the women's obviously, but the men's leagues I've played in, a lot of them are, you show up, you play your match, and then you go home. But the mixed leagues have a little more like social element to it for me, which I find a lot of fun. And then creating the contrast of styles is a lot of fun too. So in men's, I'm a 5-0 player. I'm never playing with a 4-0 player in men's doubles, but since I'm playing in this 9-0 league, I'm playing with a 4-0 lady. So I have to like solve that problem of like, okay, how do I, without taking too much risk, cover a significant area of the court, put her in the best position to succeed as well, so that the opponents, they're going to try to pick on her. So how do we solve that problem? And it's a lot different than in men's or women's doubles. So some of the partnership dynamics definitely change as well.
Definitely. And I know at least at a country club level, it's like the men are always afraid that they're going to hit the girl at the net.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's different for different areas or different levels, but most of the girls I'm playing against in the 9-0 and 10-0 leagues, I mean, they're good. Like, I can hit. Yeah. Like I have to hit it hard at them at the net to get it by them, because they'll get it back. So obviously, if you have an easy ball right on top of the net and you can hit it away from the opponent, that's the kind thing to do. But sometimes if you're like on the full stretch and all you have is the opponent as the target, I mean, it's kind of part of tennis. So
that's what I say too. No, that's what I say too. And I ask that because my husband doesn't particularly like playing mixed doubles because he's afraid of like that he's going to hit the girl. And I'm like, hey, like it's a game. You're not going to be aiming for them, but if it happens, it's part of it. But that's how I take it. I know I don't know. I've met some women that do take offense to it. So it just kind of depends on the level. Like the levels have to be close. Like if the guy's too good, maybe it's a little bit dangerous,
I had somebody complain to me when I was rated a 4-5. I was playing 8-0 mixed, and I did one time have somebody complain to me, but I wasn't like hitting them. I guess they were just complaining that they weren't a particularly good team. But anyways,
Yeah. See, that's funny. But when you're teaching, do you like to use any stats? I know you said you love stats, but is there any that you usually like your go-to stats for let's stay with recreational players?
mm-hmm. Yeah, so I follow Craig O'Shaughnessy a lot. So he's got a website called Brain Game Tennis, and he lives in Austin as well. So I met him there, and then still help him a little bit with his website. And he's a big stats guy, and he has tons of data on singles as well as doubles. And he's taught me a lot in terms of stats. But some of the big ones that he talks about that I use myself as well. One of them is that the number one player in the world wins around 55% of their points. So that when I first heard that, that kind of surprised me. I would have guessed like Djokovic is winning, 65 or 70% of the points that he plays, but that's not true. He only wins 55%. So that means if he's playing like an 11 pointer, he wins 11-9. Like how close is that? And he's the best player on earth. So that's one that I definitely mention from time to time. Some other ones for doubles specifically, one is first serve percentage. So in singles, your first serve percentage is between 60 and 65%, but in doubles, you want it to be a little bit higher, around 65 to 70%. And the reason for that is you don't need as many unreturned serves in doubles because you have your partner there at the net to clean up any weak returns. So in singles, I can just chip the return back high over the net, deep in the court to get in the point and get it started. But in doubles, if I do that, assuming your partner's good at the net, they're going to make me pay for that. I'm not going to be able to get away with it. So you'll see at the pro level, the doubles players will have a lot more spin on their first serves than the singles players will. The singles players are hitting a lot more flat serves, going for the corners. The doubles players will sometimes even hit a kick serve for their first serve or a hard slice down the tee on the ad side, things like that. So there's a lot of data out there. Those are a couple that come to mind.
Yeah, that's a great one. The one you said about the 55% of points, because it kind of makes it okay in your mind to lose points because people get frustrated, and it's like sometimes we can't handle missing a few times, we start losing it, and it's like it's going to happen. It's a game of errors. You have to be able to miss and to get beat at times. What matters is that you're winning some and that you're winning the important points. So that's a real eye opener, actually.
Yeah, it is. I feel like that helps with getting beat down the line too, right? Like if you can be more aggressive at the net and allow your opponent to beat you down the line and just keep kind of a mental tally, as long as they don't make more than 2 out of 5, if they make 2 out of 5, then you're winning 60% of those. And that's a really high number. That's more than Djokovic wins. So it helps you. Yeah, it gives you a different perspective, like you said, on you're going to lose a lot of points when you're out there, but that's okay. As long as you're getting to that 55 number, you're probably going to win the match.
And do you have any favorite drills for improving volleys?
Yes, it's the most simple drill in the world, and I don't know why more coaches don't do it. But I saw Elise Mertens and Shea Sue doing this at Indian Wells. I think it was 2021. I think it was the year they did it in October. The coach is standing in the returner's position, and Shea Sue was standing as the server's partner. This was in the ad court. So the coach is standing, returning in the ad court. Shea Sue is standing in the deuce court, looking at the coach down the line. And she's got kind of an aggressive server's partner position. So she's a little closer to that center line than she is to the singles line. And the coach is just ripping balls at her, just one after the other. He feeds a ball every like 2 seconds. And she's just hitting these reaction volleys with targets. I don't remember if she had targets. I saw Wesley Koolhof do this in Canada last year, and he had these lines down. But I like to set it up with targets that are very short, on the singles line or in the doubles alley, and you take every volley across your body. So if we're serving to the ad court and I'm standing there kind of moving towards the middle, the coach feeds it. If it's a backhand volley, it's going to my right. So it's going to be a short angle. If it's a forehand volley, it's going to my left. It's going to be a short angle to the deuce court. And if you can just hit 50 or 100 of these, or go for like 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, depending on your fitness level, because it can get tiring. And if you do this once, twice a week, your volleys are going to improve at the net so much. And you're going to be able to help your partner hold their serve so much more easily, because that return is going to come at you and you're just going to smack it away. And the key with that is hitting it across your body, because it's going to create these angles that you didn't realize you could hit. So you really want to set up those targets closer. I like to set them up closer to the net than they are to the service line. So really, really close to the net. And it's okay if you miss a few, but you're just trying to train your body to hit these really sharp angles that you see the pro level players hit all the time.
And what about in a match? Do you think it's best? Because I know at the pro level, like, they stand pretty close to the net because they're just so good. But, at a club level, I've heard some coaches kind of push their players to stand real close. But I think a lot of times they get burned by standing too close because they don't have the skills. What are your feelings? Where to stand, how close to stand?
Yeah, I think I'm glad you mentioned that, because I feel like there are a lot of coaches who will say like, oh, you have to stand close to the net, or you have to do this, or you have to do that. And I feel like the answer is always, it depends. Like you said, it's going to depend on their skill level. So if the opponent is hitting the ball really hard and you don't have the skills to hit a good volley, you probably need to buy yourself more time. So you probably need to back up off of the net a little bit more. But if they're hitting the ball pretty soft and you're closer to the service line, or you're 5-6 feet off the net, if they're hitting it soft and the ball's dipping down at your feet, then you need to step forward and be closer to the net so the ball doesn't have time to dip down low. So it really, for me, it depends on matchups. And I think in general, closer to the net is better. But if the opponent's hitting the ball really hard and you're missing the volleys, back up, buy yourself some time.
Yeah. It depends on the situation.
Definitely does.
What about the tennis tribe? How did that all get started, and how did it become what it is now?
Yeah, so it started in 2016. Like I said, I was in Austin, Texas at the time, and I had learned how to build websites. So I built the website, started writing all these doubles lessons, and like I said earlier, players started coming up to me at tournaments and saying that they found it really helpful. So from there, it kind of developed into the newsletter, the podcast, and then the double strategy services. And then I've also got the other kind of side business, like I said earlier, where I spend maybe less than 5% of my time, called Tennis Tribe Marketing, where I build websites. So it's been a long journey. It's been a lot of fun, but it's all kind of the Tennis Tribe side. It's all kind of a passion for doubles. And then I did start reviewing gear as well, which helps generate some income. And it's fun to review rackets and shoes and bags and all that sort of stuff too. So
do you have any advice for coaches? Well, let's go into on the court when coaching doubles. Any maybe general advice for coaches?
So the volley drill I talked about earlier, I think that is something every single coach should be doing for their club level players if they were playing doubles. It's such a simple drill, and if they can do it for 10 minutes at the beginning or the end of practice, their volleys are going to improve. I had a coach, Dan Kiernan, on. He also has a podcast called Control the Controllables. That's a really good doubles podcast, but he coaches Lloyd Glasspool and Harry Heliovara, who are a top 10 doubles team on the ATP Tour. And he said he has his club players do the same drill, but he'll have them stand on the net with their elbows over the net. So their elbows are over the net like this, and they have to just swat the ball away as it's coming at them. Sounds like you've done this before.
I've done that one. Yes, that's a great
Yeah.
one. Yeah. To
Yeah.
keep you from swinging. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. To keep you from swinging and to get you comfortable just volleying across your body, because there's a lot of a phrase that a lot of coaches say is when you're at the net, you should volley at the other net player. But that's not always true. In a lot of scenarios, it's easy to hit a volley across your body back behind the baseline player, and it's away from both players, so neither of them are going to get to it. So why would I want to hit it at the other net player when I can hit it away from both players, right? So volleying across your body, I feel like is a general kind of easy go-to, and you can start, like it sounds like you do with some of your students, with your elbows over the net, just to get used to hitting those volleys across your body like that. And I think that alone will just develop a lot of confidence from your players at the net. And then from there, working on different serve formations is super valuable. It's not used nearly enough at the club level. It's a great way to hide weaknesses. So I hate hitting backhand ground strokes. So I like to run or Australian formation in the ad court when I'm serving. And then I can shift to the deuce court and be hitting my forehand. So it makes it a lot easier. And then if my partner has a weak backhand volley, we've also just hidden their backhand volley and they have a forehand volley in the middle. So getting them used to different formations is super, super helpful as well. And then just thinking about like what types of shots do they need to be hitting in doubles and how can we implement that into practice? The lob return is one I've been working on a lot recently. And it's something I don't think I've ever seen a coach have their student practice on the practice court. So if you can set up a target, it's especially effective in the deuce court because the server's partner has a backhand volley in the doubles alley. So even if you do leave it short, they're hitting a high backhand volley, which, as you know, club level players just generally don't have. So if they practice these returns from the deuce court, setting up a target deep down the line and just practice that lob return, it can be a super, super effective return against especially a right-handed opponent.
That's a good one. I'd like to do that. I like to practice a variety. I think you have to be more crafty in doubles because there's a lot going on. It's good to have all the skills, right? Have the slice, have the lob. And a lot of times I spend so much time, believe it or not, and this, is because I'm working at a country club right now. But I spend so much time trying to convince women to use a continental grip on their volleys. It's insane.
Oh, wow.
So, and you'd be surprised. Some of them I like actually get to be pretty decent at the net somehow with like a semi-Western grip.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
I'm just like mind blown. Like, how are they even doing that? But yeah. Anyway.
Does the elbow over the net drill help with that a little bit? Like if you can have their elbows over the net and you feed just right at them, I feel like they'd almost have to have a continental grip to swat the ball away.
The thing is that when they go with a semi-Western grip, they go with the racket straight up, like the tip straight up, the tip of the racket straight up like that. So that's how they lock it. It's not pretty. There's like no tilt to the racket, so
I see.
It's really tricky. And it's hard sometimes because sometimes like they're not convinced. I've been doing it that way for so long. It's like, why change it now? But it's like, oh, but your volleys could be so much better if you just spend like a month working on this.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Have you tried those grip trainers, like the continental grip trainers?
I use the on-court, off-court has a little grip thing. It's like a Velcro that has a thing that sticks out and you just place. Actually, that is really helpful.
Yeah, I found that helpful as well.
That is really good. But obviously, once you incorporate any ground strokes, you have to take it off. But it's good. Yeah. They get a feel for it and they can practice it. So I like using it. And also, like, it helps keeping I call it the peace sign fingers, right? On the grip, keeping the fingers up a little bit higher. Because sometimes like, they'll hold it like almost like a fist on the grip.
Right.
So that helps with that too. It's really nice. What about any other advice for coaches now, more in terms of online marketing and how you've been able to grow your business? Coaches, a lot of the times, they don't have an online service. They'll work for a club, but I think if you can create something that's going to stay with you no matter what, I think, it's always advantage to have. So any advice that you can share?
Yeah. So this is going to kind of depend on the market, but if you're in a generally big market, a city of, a few 100,000 or more, one thing you can do, if you can control your website, like if you can make adjustments to it. I know a lot of listeners are probably working for a club where like they have to go through all this red tape to make changes. But the first key with your website is just to make it super easy for the potential customer to contact you. That's something, it sounds simple, but a lot of websites miss this. They don't have their phone number in a very prominent place. It's not easy to find. It's not easy to fill out a contact form. So there's three main ways that a potential new student will contact you. It'll either be a phone call, filling out a contact form, or they'll just want to email you directly. So I would have all three of those easily accessible on the website. If you don't have any testimonials, I would get some testimonials on the website as well. So get some of your students who've been with you a while, and just video is best, but a quote works fine as well. If they're willing to just write a short email about how you've helped them improve, that can be super effective. And then online reviews. So if you can set up a Google My Business profile and start getting good Google reviews, it'll help you to rank for terms when people, move to your town and they search tennis lessons in Dallas or tennis lessons in New York or whatever it might be. It'll help your website and your business to rank for some of those terms. So those are three things that I would probably focus on to start, making it a user-friendly, easy to contact website, getting some testimonials on the website, and then also getting good reviews on Google as well.
Okay. Thank you. That's great advice. And then I always ask this, can you share with us the Grand Slam moment of your tennis career and the double bagel moment of your tennis career? So the high and the low, it could be coaching or it could be playing.
So when I first started meeting some pro tennis players, doubles players specifically, a lot of them play both, I guess. But when I first started meeting some of them and started diving into the data, I was offering my services for free. I was saying, I'll give you a scouting report on this team based on all the data and all the video I have. And I had to do it for free because I had no background, right? Nobody knew who I was. So at Indian Wells I think this was 2021, it might have been 22. I had Asia Muhammad on my podcast a few weeks or a few months earlier, and I emailed her, and she was playing Coco Gauff and Katie McNally at Indian Wells the next day. I think it was like the quarterfinals or round of 16. And I emailed her a few days before and said, "Hey, I'm here at Indian Wells. I have a scouting report on Coco and Katie if you want it." And she replied and told me, "Sure, I'm happy to take a look at it." So I sent it over to her, and they used it, and they were underdogs in the match. And it was the first time that I actually got to go to the match. It was the first time I actually got to see the strategies at the pro level, at the highest level of our sport, being implemented and work. And on all of the big points, they did a particular thing that I don't want to share here because I don't want to share Coco's weakness, but they did a particular thing that I told them to do, and it worked on, I don't know, something like 4 out of 6 points or something. And they won. A lot of those are no ad points. So it was a really cool moment for me because I saw it working really well. And I was like, okay, I can make a living doing this. Like I can turn this into something. And this is really, really valuable for these doubles players. So that's probably my Grand Slam moment. Double bagel moment. There's a time when I was a junior. So I grew up playing on green clay, but I hated green clay. So the club I played at had 4 green clay courts and then 2 indoor hard courts. And I much preferred the indoor hard, but the indoor was more expensive to play on. Sometimes it was booked, whatever. And And there was a player who was in the clinics with me and took lessons with me. And I beat him every time we played. I considered myself at the time like a different, higher level than him. And I played him in a tournament, and it was on clay, and he beat me. I don't remember what the score was. It had to be like a close third set or something. And I remember I was so upset. I was only probably 12 years old at the time, and I didn't have the best attitude when I was younger. But that's the first thing that comes to mind. It was just, at the time, I considered it just an awful loss, and I probably broke a racket during it, because I definitely did that when I was a junior. I was not proud of it, but yeah, that's probably my biggest double bagel moment.
It must be, since you remember it from 12 years old. And did you play a lot of doubles in college as well?
I did.
You did? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So our coach was actually on the tour. He was top, I think he reached like top 60 in doubles. So he played some of the Grand Slams, but he didn't really make super deep runs, but he was obviously a super good player. So he played doubles with us a lot. And then, like I said earlier, at Division III, doubles is worth 3 points instead of 1. So we focused on it a bit more in college, but I didn't really understand it at a deep level until probably the last 5 to 7 years, because the school I was at was D1 the year before I got there. They dropped to D3. So the coach didn't really get into a lot of strategy stuff with us at the time.
And Will, how can people find you if they want to reach out to you, if any coach is listening and wants to learn more about doubles or what you're doing?
So they can email me, will@thetennistribe.com. And then my website is thetennistribe.com. The name of the podcast is the Doubles Only Tennis Podcast. We're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all the social platforms, YouTube.
You have some great guests on your podcast, some big names. So
yeah, there's some good episodes on there. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And yeah, I'm glad you're doing this podcast too. I mean, podcasting is such a great platform to interview people, get to know people, and get messages out there. So congrats to you on starting this. I know it's a lot of work, but I find it's definitely worth it.
It is. I'm having fun doing this. It's really good. Really nice. Well, thank you so much, Will. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to Vita Tennis. To learn more about Will, check out the show notes with all the links. We have had some amazing episodes so far that I hope you had the chance to listen to, so make sure to go back and check those out when you have the time. Remember to check out our website at vitatennispodcast.com, and if you would like to reach out to me, simply email me at vitatennispodcast@gmail.com. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. I really hope you're having the best summer ever. See you next week.